All right, welcome everyone. I am so excited to invite you to today's program. We are going to start right at noon. We'll keep letting folks in as they arrive, but we have a lot of fantastic information to cover, so I don't want to waste a moment. My name is Corey Miller, and I'm the Executive Director of University and Advancement Events at Syracuse University. And welcome to AI Upskilling, practical tools to boost your career and your daily life. So we have brought this Exploring AI series to 4 cities so far, and today's virtual session is designed to cut through all the AI hype and deliver hands-on strategy that you can use today as soon as you sign off. I am thrilled to introduce our first speaker, Jeff Rubin. Jeff is Syracuse University's inaugural Senior Vice President and Chief Digital Officer. He oversees the Information Technology Services team and leads the university's digital transformation efforts, positioning Syracuse as the nation's most connected campus. Jeff earned a bachelor's degree in information management and technology in 1995 and a master's degree in telecommunications and network management from the iSchool at Syracuse University. So incredible faculty, staff member, and as we all know, a Syracuse alum. Welcome, Jeff, and I'm excited to turn it over to you to take it away.
Thank you, Corey, and good to see so many Orange alums, and I'm going to jump right in. I love it. Claudia, I saw that real quick before my screen changed, holding up your Syracuse sweatshirt. Thank you. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide. I want to start with just kind of where are we as a university? So I just want to open it up of kind of how Syracuse is embracing AI, and we are. In fact, according to Microsoft and Price Waterhouse and Google, we are a leader in the higher education with not just how we are implementing or experimenting, but how we're executing on AI strategy. And what this is showing is back in October, we signed a enterprise agreement with Claude, or with Anthropic, who makes the product Claude. Anthropic is one of the big three. You have OpenAI, you have Anthropic, you have Google. And we chose Claude for a few reasons. One is they really were looking for partners. This wasn't about a vendor relationship, but a partnership. We meet with Anthropic every 2 weeks. We talk about the changes in higher ed. We chat about their tool. And we've actually seen them make changes based upon our feedback, which is fantastic. And in addition, to me, this was important to give a tool, an AI tool, to all faculty, staff, and students. I believe AI on the desktop is as important as Microsoft Office and the operating system itself, meaning everybody has to have this. This is going to impact everybody's future careers and in many ways impact their lives. And so we can't ignore it. There's, whether we like it or not, there's no putting the genie back in the bottle, right? AI is here to stay, and we need to embrace it. On the right, I don't expect you to be able to see any of those numbers. What I do expect you to see are some lines, and all those lines going up. And what that is showing is the top line is our students, the middle line is our staff, and the bottom line is our faculty, right? And obviously we have more students than we have staff, and we have more staff than we have faculty. And so these numbers make sense, but all 3 lines are increasing. And so this is showing from October of when we started. You see the dip in there. That was winter break when people go home. And then you see it go up, and now we've exceeded any numbers. So we have over 7,000 active users, faculty, staff, and students using Claude. It's unbelievable. We are in one of Anthropic's strongest partners in this space. We can go to the next slide. So then it's a question, what are we doing with AI? And there's a lot. And I won't have a time to talk about all of this. But we are literally looking at transforming all experiences, students, faculty, staff, parents, alumni, in how you interact with Syracuse University. This doesn't mean we're getting rid of humans, all right? That's not what this is about, but this is about making products and services better. And I'm giving you one example, and this is a real screenshot. So if any of you have children, or if you remember when you came to Syracuse and you registered for classes, and if it was in the last 25, 30 years, that process really hasn't changed or evolved. The way students search for classes is very, I'm going to use the word archaic. It is keyword based. You say, I'm looking for a class in AI, but if the title of the class was in artificial intelligence, it wouldn't match because it's a keyword search and the keyword needs to match. What we wanted to do was say, hey, just talk to a platform. So the example on the right-hand side is real. We are launching this in 2 weeks with our students. We named it Clementine because it's a form of an orange. And what I have in there, I don't expect you to read it, but it says, I'm a freshman looking to learn the basics of AI. What classes do you recommend? Right? So you're telling it who you are, and then it comes back and it realizes, okay, you're a freshman, you're learning for the basics. And what it says is, I suggest starting with a foundational course first, then moving to an AI specific course. Here's why. AI is built on programming and computational thinking skills. Taking these in order will help set you up for success. And then it gives some classes that it will recommend. The more we know about the student, the better the input, the better the output. Later this afternoon, I'm actually flying to DC to meet with the C-suite of Ellucian, which is our DegreeWorks platform. So this is our next phase of this. Is next semester, students will log in, will know who they are, what classes they've taken, what classes they need to graduate, what year they are, what minors they're taking. And so then you don't even have to tell us, I'm a freshman and so. We will know. So the more data we have, the better we can help. So that's one example. In addition, the way we interact with advancement is our fun way of saying fundraising, but also alumni relations. Who do we know? How do we know you? How do we engage with you? And this is an important piece where right now we have a plethora of data on hundreds of thousands of alumni, and it is very hard to sift through. It is very hard to find real time if we're trying to make decisions based on travel or we want to hook up a student with an alum. How do we do that? So what we've done is we've taken all this data and we've now put an AI layer on top of it where you can just ask the question. And we've literally taken some queries that have taken 2-week turnaround times for a human to do, just because we only have so many humans and they can only do so many reports at one time. And you now take 2 weeks to instantaneous. Right? This is real change that is happening at Syracuse. Those are just two of the examples. The last piece I'll say here before we move on is, yes, we have to educate our students, and we are doing that. We are launching 2 new AI majors in the fall, pending New York State approval. One will be housed in computer science. One will be in the I school. One is about the algorithms in AI hardware and software. Very important. The other is about integrating AI into the workplace, right? And so these are 2 things, but educating our students isn't enough because this is so new. We need to educate our faculty and staff. And so we are taking great efforts throughout the year to educate faculty and staff. They don't get extra credit. They don't get paid. They show up because they want to learn. We have now had 5 of these, and the average attendance is over 400 faculty and staff showing up to each one of these. That is unbelievable, right? If you said, hey, I'm going to talk about this, we're not going to get 400 people show up unless you have donuts, and we don't. Right? And so this is important, and it shows people want to learn about this stuff. All right, let's go ahead and move forward, and we will have time for questions at the end. This is meant to be a primer. I realize some folks on this call might be experts, and you feel free to ask questions at the end, but we're trying to just set a level playing field of, hey, we still know a lot of folks out there are just beginning to use AI and understanding how to use AI, much like we once did Google 30 years ago or 28 years ago. So what we're looking at here is, hey, here's the 3 big companies, Anthropic, and you'll see me doing some demos with Claude in a little bit. OpenAI, they're probably the most well-known because in November of 2022, they were the first to release ChatGPT, right? And it is powerful. And then there's Google, who has their Gemini platform. All 3 are great. There's also some other ones in there. You see at the bottom, I have Meta, which is essentially Facebook company, Instagram, but they have a product called Llama. Microsoft has something called Copilot. And Elon Musk and XAI have a product called Grok. Here's the truth. I'm going to be demoing in Claude today, but on a daily basis, if you looked at me, you'll see me. I'm going to use Claude. I might use ChatGPT, and I'm going to use Gemini. And the reason is because all these products, they're different models. They're trained on different data sets. They're fine-tuned differently, and some just have different capabilities. For example, Claude can't create images. Gemini's really good at creating images, even better than ChatGPT. So it isn't about necessarily using one. It's about experimenting with multiple. They all have free versions. Experiment with them. See which goes to you. And then I think Dr. Tati is going to talk about some of the security side. And when you find the one you like, my recommendation is you pay for it because then it protects your data a lot better. But it is, you'll see on me, it's using all three of these. Okay. Let's go ahead and move forward. So there's this term called prompting, which I'm sure a lot of you who have used AI know prompting. When prompting is not searching, right? So when Google, what we've grown up with over the last 25 plus years is searching. We go in and we type looking for, you don't even type looking for, you're like, evening wedding gown. I don't know if you'd wear an evening wedding gown. That was a really bad example. How about evening suit, whatever you're searching for. And it finds, it matches keywords based on what's out on the internet. AI is different. The more you give AI, the better the input, the better the output, right? And so in this case, you want to, as I'm showing here, is you want to be specific, right? So I'm attending an event in New York City at Gotham Hall. I am going to, as a participant at this event. And you want to give it constraints. So in other words, AI is pretty verbose, meaning it likes to talk, right? And at some point, we're going to be charged based on how much it talks. So you can tell it, use brevity. Right? I want your output to be in 500 words. I want it in bullet points, or I want it in a Microsoft Word document, or I want it in this tone. I want it as a PDF, whatever you want to do. But that's just the beginning. Once you get the output, it's all about iteration, right? So the difference with Google is we ask a question, we get an answer, and we start clicking links. With AI, we ask the question, we get a response, and then we ask a follow-up. We modify, we challenge. For example, so I teach a class, there's a couple hundred students in the class. Every slide, every semester, I'm putting through AI. And each slide, it's not that I'm asking it to create it for me, I'm asking it to challenge me. I'm asking it to make it richer. I'm asking it to think about my students and their careers. Yes, in some cases, it saves me a lot of time because research that I used to have to go update, it can now find that and I can validate it, trust but verify. I can validate it really quickly. But it is more about, in my mind, making the content better for the students. So you will see somebody's like, oh, so you must spend no time putting together slides. No, I probably spend more time today than I did a year ago, and 2 years ago, because I'm having so much fun and the slides are getting so rich. That's the importance of this. All right, so if we can go ahead, I'm going to do two demos real quick before I pass this over. So if we can go to the next slide. The first demo is kind of fun. So I'm going to share my screen that you will see in a second. Okay, so it should come up in just a second here, and you'll see this. And you see Claude, that's on here. Okay. And look, this is, if you've never prompted before, it says, good afternoon, Jeff. And I might say something like, hi there. I am hoping you can help me understand. I'm going to try to keep politics out of this, but understand the state of the union address last night. I would like enough of an overview so I sound somewhat intelligent when I go into my exec meeting later today, right? And you see we have a bunch of these different models, right? We're not going to get deep into this today, but this is kind of how hard do you want AI thinking about this? And some models are better for other tasks, but I'm just going to go ahead and go. And again, I'm for many reasons I'm keeping politics out of this. Wherever you think, I'm just saying, tell me what's there, right? And it's saying, all right, it's going to pull up some information. We can see it's going out to CBS News. We can see it went out to Wikipedia, the Washington Post, The Hill, PBS, went out to a whole bunch of things, finding information, finding more information, NBC, even Al Jazeera, Fox News, right? So you're not saying like, oh, this is all only searching leftist sites or right. It's searching everything, right? And then it comes out and says, here's what you need to know, Jeff. The basics. Economy was front and center. AI tech angle, Iran, tariffs, the political theater, Great. Can you make that shorter and give it to me as a PDF, right? And then it's going to go and do this. And you can see it's reading like, all right, how do I go create this PDF? And it's learning on its kind of side here. And then you see it literally going and now formatting. You don't have to know what it's doing, right? It's just doing it. And in a matter of seconds, it will create this PDF. So that's very basic, right? This is just very simple prompting. And in a minute, we will have this PDF. Somebody's talking about sources, and yeah, Gemini, Claude, they're all pretty good at attribution today. But you can also ask it, where did you get the source from? So, whoops, I think I just lost my share for a second. Give me one sec. Just bring it back to you. And okay. And it's just about done here, and life will be good. You can see, look, some of these queries can take a few seconds, and some of this, when you're actually creating a document, can take a bit longer. I'm doing one live with you, but in a second, we're not. All right. And so here at the end is now this PDF that it created, right? Very nice. And I can open this thing up as a separate document, and I've got it. All right. That's basics. All right. Very basics. The next two examples, though, that I give you or that I show you is, and what I've done with these is I've already created them, so you don't have to sit here and watch my screen create content. All right. So the first one was, hey, I'm organizing a fundraising gala for a nonprofit. One of the things that has taken people a lot of time is budgeting, right? How do we look at our revenues, our expenses? How might we think about a 4-year forecast, right? And so, hey, I want you to create a revenue tab. I want you to create an expense tab, a summary tab. It's a 200-person event in Syracuse, and also model this out over the next few years, right? And what you'll see this does, and you can click, you'll begin to see it's actually pretty wild how it begins to think.
Elizabeth?
How it begins to think of all the, now, just again, you don't have to know what this is doing, but look at how much code it is running to be able to answer this budget model. All happens in the background, and about 3 minutes later, what I end up with, I'm just going to share this with you, is this fundraising model. Let me just blow this up, where I've got a revenue tab. Everything in blue is an assumption, so I can change the numbers to my heart's delight, right? And it has ticket sales, and it thought about sponsorship, and it thought about us. I didn't tell it about a silent auction. It came up with a silent auction, right? And it came up with a paddle raise. I didn't tell it about a paddle raise. It did that. Then expenses, right? I didn't give it any information on this. but it starts thinking about the venue and catering and entertainment and marketing and decor and staffing and AV and tech and printing. It did all this, right? And then at the end, and by the way, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, right? All this, it's assuming this 5% cost increase. And then we get the summary, which is fantastic. So I say this because I do this a lot, right? I'm forecasting a lot. And these models used to take me days, if not weeks, to put together a financial model that was probably full of errors, full of errors. And now I'm doing it in a matter of 20, 30 minutes, and I'm able to think more strategically based on it, right? Yes, and it formatted it however I want it, and it can use colors that I want and so forth. So that's one. The second example, perhaps a more simple one, if I go back over here, and by the way, the chat is fantastic with people who have more information on AI. You guys are answering some questions with each other. It's fantastic. But this one is kind of like what I just did with the State of the Union. Hey, I have a board meeting on Thursday where AI, data center regulations on the agenda. I'm not an expert, but I need to contribute. Sounds somewhat intelligent. Can you help me with a 2-minute verbal briefing? 3 most important things a non-tech exec should know. 2 smart, intelligent questions I can ask. Any misconceptions, etc. Right? And so here, unlike the State of the Union, which I just kind of went through very quickly, this one, remember I talked about constraints. This is I'm giving it constraints of how I want the data. And what it does at the end is it creates this fantastic board memo prep. Here's my 2-minute verbal briefing. Here's 3 things a non-technical needs to know, right? It's about executive orders, not law in the US. Everything's really happening at the state level, not the federal level. And energy is a choke point. And unless you're living under a rock, you probably knew these things, or at least a couple of these things. And if you are living under a rock, tell me, because sometimes it would feel good to live there. And then, a couple questions that I can ask in the meeting. How do we think about multi-state compliance? And what is the risk here? Right. And then some misconceptions. So it literally hit on everything I asked it to do. This is the power of AI. I'm going to stop sharing so I can see all your lovely faces again. You could have gone forward with a slide, but that was just the second demo, was this briefing that I just walked you through, and you saw it, even though it wasn't on a slide. You saw it. So what the information is at our fingertips. I'm about to turn it over to Dr. Tati Warren, but I'll say this: when I grew up, it was about an encyclopedia, right? The information I knew and learned was in 26 volumes. When I came to college, the internet was just when I graduated college, the internet was just commercializing. Right? And we had access to a wealth of knowledge. And then came Google and Wikipedia. And now we are in this AI era, which is just more information. So at my house, we no longer can use the words "I don't know." I don't know does not exist anymore, because a lot of people, if you have an iPhone, your action button, you click that action button. My action button, if I click it, brings me to Claude. Right? So I'm 1 click away always from getting to Claude. And so when someone says "I don't know," Claude does. All right, I'm now excited to introduce Dr. Tati Warren to take over the second part of this.
Thank you, Jeff, for that overview of Syracuse University's Claude implementation. And we can't say that we don't know anymore. Can you guys hear me? Good, wonderful. I see the chat has been really active, so I'm so enjoying the conversation and appreciate the live demonstration. We've seen what's possible at the institutional level, and I almost feel obligated to go and plan a gala now, a fundraising gala based off of that budget. So thank you for that. But now I want to talk about how, we can start using AI tools just in our everyday, work, regardless of industry, technical background, or even current or comfort level with AI. I am a founding member of the Upskilling Lab, which is a nonprofit, rapidly growing nonprofit in the DC area. So, Jeff, we can't wait to welcome you on tomorrow. Um, and it really emerged from a pilot with about 50 displaced public servants who participated in a DC public library and levy learning community. Today, we're over 500 members strong, and our primary focus is really to help professionals upskill through hands-on, peer-powered, project-based learning. So exactly what Jeff just laid the groundwork and foundation for us. You know, people usually ask, like, where do I start? And I know Jeff dated both of us, because I do remember going to the library. I remember having Encyclopedia Britannica and having to do the reports, right? But if you're thinking about where do you start, you know, again, I just want to reiterate some of the things that Jeff said. And it's important that I just share these like core principles around what we call the Upskilling Labs methodology. So again, start small and specific, right? We talked about that. So just pick one repetitive task, whatever your entire job is focused on. Maybe it's writing meeting notes. Maybe it's summarizing articles. Maybe it's drafting emails. Maybe it's developing budgets. You're not trying to AI-fy everything overnight. Jeff already said, experiment and iterate, right? So you want to try the same prompts. And I really encourage you to use that same prompt across tools. So try different tools and refine it over and over again. And then the last one that I would just add, Jeff, is to build your prompt library. And, you know, Jeff talked about how the students, the faculty and staff have access to Anthropic and Claude. And so, you know, this history that it'll save your work. So I want you to think about prompts as recipes, right? You have your grandma's chicken noodle soup recipe. I'm tuning in from Jersey, and I could use a bowl of chicken noodle soup because we have storms going on right now, snowstorms. But you have your grandma's chicken noodle soup, right? And then you have your mom's chicken noodle soup. And everybody will make a chicken noodle soup, but it's a little slightly different, right? So that's exactly how your prompt library will help you to reuse these different ingredients, so to speak, over time. And I just want to say I'm so appreciative for Syracuse University just hosting these AI series, not only in person, but also virtually. So thank you for joining us again on this Lunch and Learn, because community is what really matters. And that helps us to prove that AI upskilling isn't just a tech trend. It's really more so a professional imperative, I would say, right? Next slide, please. So my next section, I'm going to really talk to those who are currently employed professionals. And if you are transitioning or looking for your next opportunity, don't worry. I have some tips for you as well. So let's talk real world AI applications across professions, right? AI isn't just for tech guys or bros in hoodies. It's really a productivity multiplier. So for whatever you're already doing, whether you're crunching numbers, saving lives, or just trying to survive your inbox, which is my current case, you should use AI, or you can try to start using AI. I want you to raise your virtual hand, because that's probably the only thing that I can see. I can't see the chat so much so quickly, but raise your virtual hand, or just say hello, hello, hello in the chat. If you ever spent 2 hours crafting an email that could have been a text. I'm seeing those hands going up, right? Right. Yeah. Double hands, right? So we are all guilty of it. AI can transform your technical jargon, right? And really turn it into clear, audience appropriate language. And you're still the expert. I want you to remember that you're still the expert. So AI is just your draft. It just helps you or assists you, really. It never judges, right? So whatever your first attempt, and you'll see that I'll have typos later when I go into the demo part. And it doesn't need coffee breaks, and that's really cool. Um, if we talk about research and summarization and the work that I do, as a social behavioral scientist working in the health equity space, I'll tell you that I was skeptical as well, about AI at first, but I've discovered how these tools can really amplify our impact without replacing the human touch that makes the work so meaningful. So, you know, Jeff gave an example earlier, and I do the same thing whether I'm teaching or doing a summary report. I can take data across 15 studies and, you know, in a matter of 3 hours versus 3 weeks, which would have been the case in the past, and I choose hours, right? AI helps me to synthesize patterns. It helps me, get through the data just more quickly, right? Automation and scheduling, I think many of us are probably using AI in this regard. So AI can draft scheduling emails, create calendar blocks. It can even automate those like just check-in messages that make you feel like a human spam bot. I set up a system that triages my inbox and draft responses like for common requests. And the benefit that I've seen, quite honestly, is that I get about 2 to 5 hours per week back, right? So that's like finding almost a whole extra work day, or in my case, time to actually eat lunch during a lunch and learn, which Jeff and I are not eating lunch. And the last part that I'll say, Jeff talked about the visual creation piece. One piece of content really, you can use one piece of content across multiple platforms, right? You get this really huge, dense impact report that's presented to C-suite executives, and you want to capture sort of the main key points for lay community, right? So if you need to translate that community into a presentation or into a social media post or into a newsletter, you can really do that. And in the health space, translating medical information for community understanding is crucial, right? So AI helps makes just the expertise accessible to more people, which is crucial for equity. I want you to just notice the pattern across all of those four examples, that AI tools really work best when you bring the expertise, the context, and really it just keeps the judgment out, keeps a judgment free zone. So they handle repetitive cognitive labor, right? The stuff that makes you, want to throw up your hands at the end of the day, right? And just the last thing that I'll say, and you see sort of the toolbox that's there: Claude, ChatGPT, Grammarly, Perplexity AI. These are some of the platforms that's in my toolbox, and we'll talk about them. But if you're thinking about tips for career development, consider using some of these tools, in particular Claude and ChatGPT, for career scenario modeling, feedback compression, role deconstruction, values conflict detection, work environment simulations, reputation building plans. Think about it like you just have this personal career strategist who you have access to 24/7. So next, we're going to transition into professionals who are in transition or maybe job seeking or thinking about taking the entrepreneur route. Now, for those of you exploring opportunities, whether it's by choice or by organizational restructuring, which I know many folks went through those transitions in 2025, AI can really be your secret weapon, and I want you to think about it that way. And speaking of resources, the first point that I have there is SU Alumni Career Services. Shout out to Corey for pulling Jeff and I together for this, and everyone who's joining for this lunch and learn as a part of the AI series, but also just all of the staff members supporting our alumni career services. I should see some more hand claps going across my screen than that. But I just want to really say thank you to them. Yes, I love that. Blue, blue, blue. because they really have hosted some fantastic events, and I have sat in the audience seat, right? So from the career life design program to virtual career events on promotion and salary negotiations to I think just recently they hosted the in-person career fair in New York City, even a LinkedIn masterclass, right? So how to spruce up your LinkedIn, stop spending time on Instagram and Facebook, go on LinkedIn, update it. All of these virtual events, they have replays, and they can really help to navigate. Uh, and then my 2 points that I want to talk about really is resume and cover letter optimization. I know a lot of folks have, even if you're not comfortable with using, AI platforms, have probably tried this a time or two, right? So AI can really identify keyword gaps between your resume and job postings. Basically, it tells you why the ATS robot rejected you before a human even saw your brilliance. It can transform your accomplishments into different formats, whether you're using like the STAR method or quantified results, or maybe you have skills based on your resume. Important caveat to just consider is that AI helps you with the formatting, it helps you with the language, but your authentic achievements and your voice still have to shine through, right? Nobody wants to hire someone who just has a robot who's written their resume, right? Trust me, recruiters can tell and they complain about it all the time. Um, and then, regarding the interview prep and professional development, you want to use AI to generate mock interview questions based on your actual job description. Research the company culture, right? And recent news. Jeff just gave a prime example in his executive report. So you don't want to ask about a new CEO who may have left 6 months ago, right? You should stay informed about the current events for that organization, and you can even use Chat GPT or Claude to develop your tell me about yourself pitch. That's usually the first question that's asked on an interview, right? So tell me about yourself. And then you start rambling, going down your resume, and you don't have this story or narrative, that really hits home, right? So you don't want to sound like you're reading a LinkedIn summary out loud. You really want to use it to elevate yourself, right? So when I work with career changers, they use AI to really map those transferable skills into new industries, right? It's like having a translator, right? I did this, and here's why it matters to you and to your company, right? And then of course, networking and follow up. I'll add that is in networking and following up, AI can help you to draft LinkedIn like connection messages that feel like really personal. So not like spam for a marketing bot, but just really having those thank you notes that reference specific conversation points. So follow-ups that really strike that balance between, hey, I'm interested, and please respond before I die, because I'm waiting for suspense. But just be honest, if we could be honest with ourselves, networking can be exhausting, and I get it. But AI can really help you to just stay consistent without sounding like you've copied and pasted an email, multiple times. Next slide, please. So before I go into these three non-negotiables and jump into the demo, I do want to just say, whether you're crushing it in your current role or navigating, transitions, for those who are employed, AI gives you time back to focus on the high impact work that really gets you hired. And for those who are in transition, AI helps you to present your best self consistently across dozens of applications. However, there are three non-negotiables, and I think my friends who are in AI governance would appreciate me saying this today. We cannot talk about AI without talking about responsible AI use. So if we're talking about data privacy, security, ethics, all of that matters, folks, right? AI is only as AI is powerful, yes, but it's not magic, right? I'm not just look at all those hand claps. Those must be my government folks in the audience. So with great power comes what? Great responsibility. You guys should know that from Spider-Man. Thank you. So, if we think about it, these things have to be non-negotiable. Never input client names, proprietary data, protected health information, confidential business details. I use the billboard test. So if you wouldn't put it on a billboard, and I know we put some crazy things on billboards. I'm from New York City. I've seen crazy things on the billboards in Times Square. But for professional uses, if you won't put it on a billboard, don't put it into AI, right? So do input anonymized scenarios, general concepts, public information, and, check your tool settings. Free versions may train on your data, as Jeff pointed out earlier. Paid versions often don't, so know the difference. We'll share a couple of resource tools with you later that really breaks down the pros and the cons from the Upskilling Labs on various AI tools based on, paid versus free versions. And then, of course, fact checking. AI hallucinates and you're still accountable. So they'll make up data, they'll make up information that sounds really convincible, but they'll use false information, right? And this happens in so many cases. So don't get caught in that. So always verify the data. Always verify the citations, always verify the technical details, because you are the fact checker. AI is just your assistant. And then lastly, bias and equity consideration. AI reflects, really reflects biases in training data. So this matters in hiring, it matters in healthcare, community engagement. So whenever you're thinking about, even like for me personally, when I'm developing health promotion strategies, I always check the outputs because I want to make sure that I'm being culturally sensitive. And I also want to make sure that the programs are designed so that they are accessible, right? So you should be asking yourself, where does bias show up in your everyday work, right? So who might you be leaving out, or who might be left out or misrepresented by this AI generated content, right? And if you can't answer that, don't hit send. So think about that. So 3 rules: billboard, test for privacy, always fact check, always bias check. And then just you'll be set for being responsible in your AI use. And then just quickly, I want to definitely leave you guys with a 7-day AI action plan. Next slide, please. So, if we have time, I'll show you a few more, like, one live demo. A problem area for me is my lengthy CV, because like Jeff, I come from academia as well, right? But first, the most important part of your action plan that I want to say to you guys today is that I want you to use this stuff. Jeff gave some great things. I hope that I gave some great insights as well, right? So your next week should look like this, right? Day 1, pick your tool. If you're a student or faculty member, staff, you have access to Claude. Use it. Chat GPT, Gemini, just create a free account if you're starting at the beginning. I saw Daniel in the chat asking folks where they were, what's their comfort level with AI, right? So just choose a tool. Then on day 2, I want you to choose one use case from your work. Is it drafting communications? Maybe it's summarizing documents. Maybe it's brainstorming. Maybe it's creating templates. Whatever it is, just choose one. Over the next 3 days, so day 3 to 5, you want to experiment, iterate, and refine. Try it 3 to 5 times. I want you to note what works, what doesn't, and just continue to adjust your prompts. Remember those recipes, right? Make it your own chicken noodle soup. Be sure to build your prompt library. And then on day 6 to 7, just really reflect on your wins and challenges. Identify your next use case. What's really key is sharing your experience. I call it building out loud. That's what we call it in the upskilling lab. So whether it's with a colleague, or maybe it's on LinkedIn, or it's with your SU alumni community, just build out loud. Next slide. So I think just this is a QR code. Again, the best time to start with your AI upskilling journey was yesterday, but the second best time is today, right after the lunch. And really feel free to connect, of course, because that's really where the real learning happens. It's through this like paired support and shared experiments. Hence why we are doing these live demos on today. And just 3 takeaways. AI is a productivity tool, right? It's not a replacement for your expertise. Start small, experiment often, and learn from community. And then always prioritize privacy, accuracy, and equity. I think that's it. Corey, let me know how we're good on time for the demo. If I could show my lengthy CV and Claude turning that into a resume.
Sure, Dr. Tati. We can take a couple minutes for the demo, and then we should probably shift to Q&A just to answer anyone's questions.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm just gonna, quickly get Claude up here. Alrighty. So I have my CV, and I have a resume, and I have a job description. That's up there. Just quickly go to the job description just so you can see like at least the title of the job description. And this is just pretty brief, right? But at basic, this is typically the things that we have, right? A job description, a resume, a CV. I'm going to take my CV, which is pretty lengthy, and I'm going to show it to you. Don't judge me, guys. But again, I'm coming from academia and healthcare. It's 26 pages long, so it has all of these different components. Just quickly scrolling through, the length of this, the research and different things that I have been involved in. But it, blah, 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 blah. Who cares, right? Especially not HR recruiters. They want to sort of see very high level and not in this great detail. So we're going to take this CV and upload it to Claude just really quickly. And we're going to ask Claude to, based on the job description, create an abbreviated resume or shortened resume that, and we can upload the one pager as well, but we'll upload these different things that I've created already, but that's the CV. So just quickly, we'll do the CV. And then we have the job description as there. So we're going to say, here goes the link to the job description. You can copy and paste, or you can include the link. Either one, it works both on Anthropic Claude. Sometimes if you're on ChatGPT or on Gemini, you got to actually like copy and paste, the full content from the page. You may not read the page. So just be mindful of that. So here's my CV. Have a long CV. Talk to Claude the way you would talk to me. Don't judge me, Claude, right? All those good things. Edit my CV to fit the job description. Please synthesize to, thanks in advance, 2 to 3 pages. Let's put no more than 2 pages. Yeah. Send that away, right? And so it's thinking as it should be thinking, and it's, may ask me some additional questions there. And again, I'm doing this all on the free version, right? So this is all on the free version. So just responded and said it couldn't read the link. Sorry about that, guys. Um, so just going to copy that first part, the most important part, and then drop that in there. And again, I told you guys that I'm tuning in from New Jersey, so I just picked something, um, that I found. Here we go. Here's the text. We're pasting that. Sorry, guys. So it's there. I'm just gonna scroll down quickly to see my resume. Feel free to just show the one that's up at the top. There we go. You see, this is what happens when you have a lengthy CV and you're doing this in real time. Sorry. Come on, Claude. We're here. Okay, while it's thinking, we'll just we'll go over to we'll go over to a abbreviated version, an 8-page version that it did earlier. So I'll show you the 8-page PDF version right there up at the top, the resume. It basically formatted it as 7-page. It gave me a 7-page abbreviated version when I prompted it just before this. So again, highlighting my credentials, shout out to Syracuse, shout out to the track team, right? Highlighting my professional experiences, all of the key things. But I think the important thing that I wanted to note was was going to just show you how it really customized this resume so that it could be in alignment with some of the core concepts from the job description, which is what we, usually like to call out: team leadership, business development, strategic growth. These are some of the characteristics that they're looking for in their next hire. So I'm going to invite Jeff to the stage and stop sharing and say thank you.
That's Tati. Thank you. Yeah, look, you're seeing live of when you do things, both the pros and the sometimes AI has a mind of its own. Corey, how about we take a couple questions in the last little bit?
Absolutely. Thank you, Jeff. So first and foremost, there were some questions about the difference between the free and paid version of Anthropic, and as SU alumni, if there was any opportunity for discounts or resources when it comes to AI.
So yeah, the difference between free and paid, I'd say this: the free you should treat exactly how Dr. Tati explained, which is don't upload anything confidential. If you have a situation, try to anonymize it. But it's good. It's also going to limit the kind of what you can get back or how much you can use it. But when you get into the paid versions, and especially at an enterprise level, check with your company. Then you start getting into real enterprise grade security. And so here, our CFO uploads budget files. Our HR team uploads HR files. It is FERPA certified, so we can upload student files. These are important things. So does that mean it's 100% safe? Nothing's 100% safe on the internet, right? And then the second question, no, we don't have a discount for alum, but I love the idea. Love the idea. I had enough trouble getting a discount for our students, but we will certainly look into that one, see if there's a way.
Perfect. Thank you. And I did just want to do a shameless plug, but an important one. We do have an official date, breaking news as of yesterday, Wednesday, June 10th, for those that are in the Syracuse, New York area. We will be putting together another wonderful AI event. Jeff will be a part of that. The date is on his calendar. We'll have some other great faculty and alumni, and that will actually be at the Inspire Innovation Hub. So we did receive a few questions that were just about mini courses or chances. If you're locally anywhere near the Syracuse area or in Syracuse, definitely something to note and jot down on your calendar. We also had a great question about the difference between ChatGPT and Claude. and understanding that they're getting taught on different information, but essentially, do they still both do the same thing?
Yeah.
Tati, go ahead.
Yeah, they do. You see the head nods, and we actually have a resource, and we could send that out, Corey, where it compares all the different tools. Yeah.
Perfect.
Hmm.
And I mean, another great question. I always love hearing about this. I've heard you speak about this before as well, Jeff. Hallucinations. Someone had chimed in. I read the hallucinations as a term is misleading. The AI is producing what it's trained to produce based on the inputs provided. What are both your thoughts?
Yeah, no, that's 100% right. Hallucinations is a feature, not a bug.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so it doesn't make it good or right.
Hmm.
And to the other thing is, hallucinations have gotten a lot better. So this is one of the things that frustrates me is somebody's like, well, I'm not using AI because it hallucinates. That was kind of 2023, 24. All right, we're now in 25, 26. The hallucinations are a lot better with the newer models. But yes, the way AI works is it's predicting the next word. And so when it doesn't find information, it tries to make it up. That's the whole trust but verify, right? And ask for attribution. If you ask for attribution, you can go back and look where the information came from. But I'm being honest, like what used to hallucinate all the time for me 2 years ago, I don't remember the last time I've gotten a hallucination. I really
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah, I agree with Jeff when you use it more often for certain. However, in healthcare, especially with impact reports, there was a huge case for Australia's impact report. You can do a quick Google. I won't, name the organization, but they got hit with a pretty hefty $500,000, fine, I guess, or it was a $500,000 report, and they were fined
Mhm.
because of the hallucinations. So it is something real, but again, the you own the authority to do due diligence to go through the data, and I think different platforms also help. Perplexity AI, Grammarly, and of course Claude are other platforms to use that will pull in from validated like resources, scientific resources, depending on the type of work that you're doing.
No, and that's great, Dr. Tati, because we actually did have another question about whether or not anyone used Perplexity and if they found that this was better for research results.
Yes. I personally do use Perplexity AI as well as Claude, and but Perplexity AI most certainly on the research side more often.
And the one thing to also know there is Perplexity doesn't have its own LLM, right? So
Yeah.
they are leveraging the other LLMs, but doing the attribution really well.
Hmm.
And yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Uh,
Great.
Corey, can I take one question from Dan Green? As he asked a good one on the chat. What are
Absolutely.
on-campus attitudes towards AI? Are professors and
Yeah.
students embracing AI tools or pushing back? We've seen Gen Z interns refuse to use AI for ethical reasons. It is a great question. And I know we only have a minute, but I'll say this. The more we educate faculty, staff, and students, the more all these
Hmm.
groups are embracing the strategy. It
Mhm.
is really about the unknown and the scary part. But when we show responsible use of AI,
Yeah.
students are using it. They're understanding they can learn more. They're understanding the guardrails of when to use it, and more importantly, our faculty and staff are beginning to understand how to integrate it into the classroom. So,
Yeah.
to me, it really is something that we have got to train and teach, and not
Mhm.
force one way or the other. So, really haven't gotten the pushback that I did, a year or two ago, since we've really taken a big step in education.
Yeah.
Great. No, thank you so much. I want to be mindful in time. I'd love to just hear from each of you. If you had no, one number one takeaway, and I know we got lots of info throughout, but your top takeaway that people should come right out of this session and give it a try when it comes to AI.
Build out loud. So Jeff just talked about community, and I think that Jeff is doing a wonderful job at Syracuse. But we can't do this in silo. We have to work with each other and share our pain points and just continue to encourage the use of it, responsible use of it.
And I'd say
Wonderful.
this, it's lifelong learning, and find a way to. I think Tati had it like day one, day two, day three, kind of that X step program. We are going to send out a list of resources.
Hmm.
Start with those.
Yeah.
So we're going to send out some resources that'll help you get started. A lot of people ask that, but just take the first step.
Fantastic. So before anything else, I just wanted to give a big round of applause. Thank you so much for your time today, Jeff and Dr. Tati. This was really, really informative. It was an incredible, energetic chat, and I know everyone appreciates you carving out the time to let us learn from all of your expertise. So really important, I know this question came up a few times in the chat. Yes, we will share the recording, so stay tuned on your email. That'll come in the next few days. And then with that recording, as Jeff and Dr. Tati had mentioned, we'll include some additional resources. You already had a few kind of primers for before this session that were sent along with the Zoom link yesterday for everybody who signed up, but don't worry, more to come. And still stay tuned. We have lots of information on our Syracuse University alumni website about all of our upcoming AI events. As I mentioned, our next stop is in June in Central New York. And then looking ahead to next year, we'll continue to think about how we can bring this important information to all of our SU graduates. Thank you so much. You'll also receive a survey shortly. So we love your feedback. Share with us what you thought, share with us what you enjoyed so that we can use that to inform our future programming. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Go Orange.
Go Cuse.
Orange. Thank you.